There is a country that sits at the very crossroads of human civilization, a land so ancient, so layered with history, that archaeologists believe they have barely scratched the surface of what lies beneath its soil. A country that was once the most powerful empire on earth, a country whose ancient kings ruled over half the known world, a country whose deserts, mountains and underground cities still guard secrets that modern science has never been able to unlock. That country is Iran. And today on the Forbidden Files, we are going inside 5 of its deepest, darkest and most unexplained mysteries. Some of these stories have been buried for thousands of years. Others have been deliberately hidden from the world. All of them will change the way you think about this ancient land forever. Welcome back to the Forbidden Files, where we uncover the histories, mysteries and secrets that the world's most powerful forces have tried to keep hidden. I'm your host, and today we are traveling to one of the oldest, darkest civilizations in human history, that is Iran, known in the ancient world as Persia, home to empires that shaped the entire course of human history. But beneath the history that is taught in textbooks, beneath the ruins that tourists photographs, there is another Iran, darker, stranger, more mysterious than almost anything else on earth. Let's go inside. Mystery number 5, the Burnt City. Deep in the Sistan desert of southeastern Iran, buried beneath thousands of years of sand and silence, archaeologists discovered something extraordinary. An entire city, one of the largest urban centers of the ancient world. Over 150 acres of streets, buildings, workshops and graveyards. This city was called Shahar-e-Sokhta, which translates simply as the Burnt City, and it was home to over 5,000 people more than 5,000 years ago. But it is not the size of this city that shocked archaeologists, it is what they found inside. Inside the graves of this ancient city, researchers discovered the world's oldest artificial human eyeball, a prosthetic eye made of gold and light material, with a central pupil of black bitumen and radiating gold lines, simulating the iris, so precise in its construction that it could be worn in a real human eye socket. 5,000 years ago, they also found the world's oldest backbone set, the oldest animation illustration, a series of drawings on a clay cup showing a goat jumping towards a tree, designed to spin in sequence to create moving images, like an ancient cartoon, 5,000 years before cinema was invented. And then, at the height of its power and population, the city was abandoned, completely, suddenly, within what appears to be a single generation. Every single one of its 5,000 inhabitants vanished. No war, no evidence of invasion, no plague, no natural disaster scientists can identify. One day the Burnt City was a thriving metropolis at the cutting edge of the human civilization. The next, it was empty, silent, and it stayed that way for 5,000 years until the sand gave up its secret. What did they leave? Where did they go? And how did a city this advanced simply disappear? Nobody knows. Mystery number 4. Iran is largely desert, burning hot in summer, brutally dry, a landscape where survival, let alone the building of great cities, should have been impossible. And yet, ancient Persians not only survived in this desert, they built some of the greatest cities in human history right in the middle of it. The answer lies underground, and it is one of the most astonishing engineering achievements in the entire history of human civilization. Over 3,000 years ago, ancient Iranian engineers designed and built a network of underground water channels called Qanats. These are not small irrigation ditches. These are precisely engineered tunnels, some stretching over 70 kilometers in length, carved by hand through solid rock and desert earth. Each tunnel was designed with a perfectly calculated gradient, a slope so precise that water flows through it by gravity alone. No pumps, no machinery, no power source, just pure mathematics applied to stone. Today there are over 37,000 individual Qanat systems still operating across Iran. Some of them are still actively supplying water to Iranian villages after 3,000 years of continuous operation. Modern engineers who have studied these systems describe them as breathtaking in their precision. The calculations required to maintain a constant gradient across 70 kilometers of underground tunnel through varying soil types, around obstacles, under mountains, would challenge a team of engineers with modern surveying equipment today. Ancient Persians did it by hand with no computers, no GPS, no laser levels. UNESCO declared the Iranian Qanat system a World Heritage Site. They called it one of the greatest feats of engineering in human history. And the question that nobody has fully answered yet is how they calculated it so perfectly 3,000 years ago. Mystery number 3, and this one involves one of the most powerful men who ever lived. Persepolis, the ceremonial capital of the Persian Empire, built by King Darius the Great and his son Xerxes over 2,500 years ago. A palace complex so magnificent, so vast, so impossibly beautiful, that ancient visitors described it as the greatest building on earth. It covered an area the size of a modern city district. Its stone columns stood 20 meters tall. Its walls were covered in gold and lapis lazuli. Its grand staircase was carved with the images of 23 nations, bringing gift to the Persian king. In 3030 BC, Alexander the Great conquered Persia. He entered Persepolis. He looted its treasury, carrying away treasure so vast it required 20,000 mules and 5,000 camels to transport it, and then he burned it to the ground. Here is the mystery. Alexander the Great was known as a man who respected the cultures he conquered. He preserved temples. He protected monuments. He adopted Persian customs, even dressed in Persian royal clothing. So why did he destroy Persepolis? Ancient historians give contradictory accounts. One says he burned it in a drunken rage at a party. Another says it was a deliberate act of revenge for the Persian burning of Athens 150 years earlier. A third account suggests it was burned on the advice of a mysterious woman named Thais, whose true identity and motives have never been established. Modern historians have debated this question for centuries, and here is the most disturbing detail of all. The fire that destroyed Persepolis was not accidental. Archaeological analysis of ash and burn patterns shows it was deliberately and systematically set in multiple locations simultaneously. This was organized destruction, planned, executed by the man who had just conquered the greatest empire on earth. But why? What was inside Persepolis that Alexander wanted erased from history? 2,350 years later, we still do not have an answer. Mystery number 2. In the Karman province of southeastern Iran, there is a city made entirely of mud and straw. Not a village, not a small settlement, a complete fortified city with a citadel, palaces, barracks, stables, bazaars and residential districts, covering an area over 180,000 square meters, the largest mud brick structure on the entire surface of the earth. This is Argebam, and it is at least 2,500 years old. For centuries, it was a thriving city on the ancient Silk Road, the great trade route connecting China to Europe. Merchants, travelers, armies, and diplomats all passed through its gates. And then, sometime in the 18s, every single one of its inhabitants left. The city was completely abandoned, and the desert moved in around it. For nearly 200 years, the city of Bam stood empty and perfectly preserved in the dry desert air. Its mud brick towers still standing, its ancient streets still intact, like a ghost city frozen in time. Archaeologists who entered it described walking through streets that looked so though the inhabitants had simply stepped out and never returned. Rooms still containing ancient tools, storage areas still holding old containers, a city frozen, waiting. Here is the mystery that hunts researchers. Historical records give no clear explanation for why the city was abandoned. There are vague references to an attack. Some documents mention a siege, but the physical evidence does not match a military defeat. There are no mass graves, no evidence of widespread fire, no destruction in the abandonment period. The people of Bam simply left, all of them together, and nobody recorded why. In 2003, a devastating earthquake struck the region. It destroyed much of what had survived 2,500 years ago. Over 26,000 people in the modern city around it died in minutes. But the ancient citadel, the mud brick ghost city, still stands, partially damaged, but still there, still keeping its secret. And the the mystery that I find most deeply unsettling about ancient Iran. Carved into the walls of Persepolis, stretching across hundreds of meters of stone relief, there are soldiers, thousands of them, carved in perfect detail, each one identical to the last, same height, same posture, same weapons, same expression. These are the Immortals, the elite fighting force of the Persian Empire, and they were called Immortals for a reason that goes far beyond military strategy. The ancient Greek historians Herodotus recorded this about them. The Immortals always numbered exactly 10,000, never more, never less. If one was killed in battle, within hours a replacement appeared. If one fell sick, he was immediately replaced. The number never changed, the force was never diminished. To the enemies of Persia, it appeared as though these soldiers truly could not die. Cut one down, and another instantly appeared in this palace, as if they were not individual men, but a single unscalable entity. But here is the mystery that historians cannot resolve. The organizational system required to maintain a standing force of exactly 10,000 elite soldiers, with instant replacements available at all times, across an empire stretching from Egypt to India, should have been impossible with ancient communication and logistics. There were no telephones, no radio, no rapid messaging system. The Persian Empire covered over 8 million square kilometers, moving replacement soldiers to the front line quickly enough to maintain the illusion of immortality. Across distances of thousands of kilometers, required a level of military logistics that historians cannot fully reconstruct. And then there is a deeper question, the one that ancient sources hint at but never directly answered. Several ancient writers recorded that the Immortals were believed by both the Persians themselves and their enemies to possess supernatural protection, that they carried sacred objects, that their commanders performed rituals before battle, that there was something about the Immortals that went beyond military training. What were these rituals? What were the sacred objects? What was the true source of the belief that these soldiers could not die? The answers were carved into the walls of Persepolis, written in records kept in palace libraries. And then Alexander arrived and burned everything to the ground. The stone carvings of the Immortal still stand on the ruined walls of Persepolis. Still watching, still 10,000 strong, still keeping every secret they were born to protect. And the truth of what made them truly immortal died with the flames that Alexander lit 2,350 years. 5 mysteries, 5 secrets, one of the oldest and most extraordinary civilizations in human history. Iran is not just a country in the news, it is a land of 10,000 years of human history, a land of empires and engineers, of builders and warriors, of secret buried so deep that even 21st century science cannot reach all of them. And we have only just begun to scratch the surface. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 Iranian mysteries shocked you the most? Did you know any of these stories before today? Let me know in the comment. I read every single one. And if this video opened your eyes to the world of history and mystery that nobody else is talking about, then subscribe to the Forbidden Files, because every week we go deeper, every week we go further, and every week the world gets stranger. Stay curious, stay questioning, the truth is out here. I will see you in the next one.